Hi and welcome to Orbit. This is iPhone 15 and 15 Plus, and Apple has changed a surprising amount of stuff this year. I tested both of them and here is my review. The iPhone 13 and 14 were so similar that I accidentally used the wrong device for a day last year without noticing it. That would not happen to me with the iPhone 15. Not only are there 5 really nice pastel colors, one of them appeals more to me than the other, but they also feel much better than the predecessor thanks to the softly rounded frame and the matte glass on the back. The iPhone 15 and 15 Plus look and feel soft and warm. To my eye, even better than the iPhone 15 Pro. Seriously, it's hard for me to put them down just because they have such a pleasant shape and texture. This is certainly also due to the weight. Both the iPhone 15 and 15 Plus weigh about 20 grams less than the 15 Pro, which is about 20 grams less than the predecessor. And the iPhone 15 is quite durable. It can withstand water at a depth of 6 meters for 30 minutes. There's no action button on the side like on the 15 Pro. There is still the silent switch like in the past. I think that is a bit strange because I think the button is way better and I have my phone always on silent anyway. The iPhone 15 display exists in 2 sizes, 6.1 and 6.7 inch. The notch at the top is gone and at its place is now a long hole. It contains the selfie camera and Face ID. I think visually that's an improvement. The iPhone looks more modern and it can do more now. Apple calls that black hole up there a dynamic island, and it's kind of a dynamic widget which can display additional infos depending on the app. You can, for example, quickly jump back to your navigation or music if you tap there. Or you can see a call up there. It's a great thing, and because all the new iPhones now have the dynamic island, more developers will adopt it. Also new, the display can now get brighter. 1000 nits indoor, 1600 nits in HDR content, and 2000 nits when you are out in the sun and you look at a lot of black surface. These are almost one-to-one the displays of the iPhone 15 Pro. This is because they only have a 60 Hz refresh rate and not the twice as smooth 120 Hz as in the Pro model in absolutely every current Android smartphone. Most people don't even understand what exactly 120 Hz is, and that is okay. But they perceive the phone to be faster, smoother and more direct. And I want to start a conspiracy theory. The iPhone 15 and 15 Pro have the same size, resolution and brightness. I think it is the same display out of the same factory because it would be way more expensive to build 2 different types of displays that are so similar in every other aspect other than 120 Hz. So I think both of them do have 120 Hz, but Apple is throttling one of them down to 60 in software. Cannot be proven, but could be true. And I would go even further than that. I would say that if a person can't tell the difference between 60 and 120 Hz, they should not buy an expensive phone like that. They should get an old iPhone or a cheap Android, which probably has 120 Hz. I am using more than 60 Hz for about half a decade now, so it hurts myself just to know that someone will buy this phone and walk around in 5 years from now and still have 60 Hz. It is just sad to see that Apple isn't trying to build the best possible product, but rather squeeze out $2 or $3 in profit margin and try to move their consumers to buy the Pro model. By the way, the iPhone 15 does not have an always-on display either. Apple also tried to save some cash on the processor and I'm fine with it. It is not the newest one. It is the one of the iPhone 14 Pro, so the A16 Bionic. However, it is still so fast and efficient that it can easily keep up with current smartphones. Really, the only thing missing are the iPhone 15 Pro exclusive console quality games. That is a bit of a shame. Otherwise, I expect similarly long or probably 1 year less of software updates, but that would still be 5 years. The iPhone is fast, smooth and it manages every app and game you throw at it. And the battery life is also great. 4.5 hours of screen on time for the iPhone 15 and 6 hours for the 15 Plus. If you are at home a lot, you can do even more than that. That's solid numbers. Charging is either done wirelessly or with MagSafe, or the new USB-C port. You can still use all your Lightning products with an adapter, but you can now also charge your iPad, your Mac, Android smartphone and iPhone with just one cable. The iPhone 15 Pro has an even faster USB-C port, but I think that is not that important because only very few people move large files regularly to a computer. The lack of fast charging is much worse. The iPhone needs more than 1.5 hours to charge fully. A Moto Edge 40 Pro only needs 21 minutes to do the same, and the battery life there is even longer. Before I talk about the new cameras, I want to say a few words about iOS 17. You can now fine-tune the lock screen, turn any photo into a sticker, and there's a standby display when the iPhone is charging in landscape mode. What I do like about iOS is how uniform it looks and all the nice animations. They are so extensive and sometimes slow that iOS can hide the fact way better that it's only 60 Hz than Android. Of course, this could also mean that if next year all of the iPhones do have 120 Hz, that iOS will run faster overall. That would be great. There are two lenses on the back. The main camera has a new, larger, 4 times sharper sensor. It has 48 megapixel, and even though it's not quite as big as the one in the Pro model, they are still all the new features. The photos are now 24 megapixels in size. The difference in sharpness compared to the 12 megapixel is not extreme, but it is still nice. The real advantage of the 48 megapixel resolution is that there is now a 2x zoom. And when you crop in twice, the photo is still 12 megapixel, and fun fact, the sensor area is still larger than the main sensor of the iPhone 12 Pro. And that's why these 2x pictures are looking really fine. Unfortunately, there's no 28 or 35mm mode like there's on the iPhone 15 Pro, although it's also 48 megapixel and it should be technically possible. What there is, however, is a Hive Max mode, which is a mode which can take 48 megapixel pictures. Overall, I'm very satisfied with the camera. The colors, the dynamic range and the sharpness, it all looks very natural. Night photos are also a bit better and the portrait mode can now be selected afterwards, as well as its strength and where the focus should be. The ultra-wide-angle camera has not been improved. The field of view is very wide. Unfortunately, there's no autofocus in macro mode. But the main camera on the iPhone 15 has a much better close focus distance than the iPhone 15 Pro, and that means that pictures like this look actually better on the iPhone 15 than the 15 Pro. This is the selfie camera of the iPhone 15 and also the microphone, and I do think that both is above average, and there's also an autofocus. And quite honestly, I was surprised on how similar everything is to the Pro model. No one can tell the difference. Even at 5x in mixed light, the two are remarkably similar. And videos look great on both. These are the best videos on any smartphone. There are only a few features that Apple withholds from the Pro. The Pro RAW mode, the Pro S Video and the lock color profile. Why do they do that? Well, so more people buy the Pro. Conclusion: I like a lot of things about the iPhone 15 and 15 Plus. I do like the design very much, and I think the display, despite the 60 Hz, is great to look at. The processor is super fast, battery life is great, the camera is 95% of what the Pro camera is. But then there is the price, which went down in Europe, but it's still quite expensive with 950 euros and 1100 euros. You could get for 300 euros less a Nothing Phone 2, which also looks just great. It has a great screen with 120 Hz, good processor and a good camera. And then there's the Galaxy S23, which also costs less than 700 euros right now. If you're willing to buy the iPhone 15 anyway, I think you will have a great time with it, but I do also think that you would have had a great time with an older iPhone also.